Um, this is where I use basic logic as a mathematician, right? So you know who the highest level mathematician is, right? The first creator. Okay. So I know it through experience because that's what I do when you're in a neutral state, right? Negative, positive, neutral, right? Non-polarized consciousness. It means that I don't choose or intend of my own consciousness, soul arcing spirit energy to communicate in a way using a language that creates any kind of sound wave distortions because it's not the language of the founders, the language of fire, the eternal spirit of fire. So because of what I'm aware of through others that I experience that communicate with me with their experience, and now I'm experiencing visuals like what happened in Maui, right? A picture of a helicopter dropping stuff that looked like it was black over the sky. And then the video that I experienced this morning from Dr. Mummy Saraki, Wake Up Africa, right? And particularly as we know what happened in Maui, and God only knows how many children they abducted. And so I make it simple, okay, because I was a child when I was doing the math. Why go after a child? Well, there's a lot of different reasons you go after a child. One would be the DNA. They want the DNA. Oh, man, they want that DNA, right? The codes, right? And so that's a biggie. And that's particularly true with what? Fallen spirit, a fallen state of consciousness, right? I mean, this is how simple it actually is. I've mentioned this before, but it's not funny. Oh, what's that? Like you're a little child. Oh, what's that? Like when you see children walking through Walmart and all these visual displays are up. This is what I call the carnival barker. This is what I call how the dead operate. Oh, the matter. I want the matter. The stuff that's in the projection, the outside stuff. Oh, my mirror. What's in my mirror? I want what's in that mirror. It's mine. It's mine. It's mine. It's mine. Oh, that's called covet means I covet that. It's mine. That cell is mine. I don't want that cell to be free. That cell is mine. That's an inverted state. That's not an eternal creator state. Because the eternal spirit of fire, which is the eternal creator, created what's in that mirror. Whoa, I am what that is. I'm the one who created that. Yes. Right. So now we're back to let it go. Are you holding yourself captive? I'm the creator of that. So why do I not hold what I just created captive? I just slowed myself down. That's called a repeated pattern. That's a loop. So if you want to accelerate the speed at which your frequencies, your consciousness is rising, let go of more electrons. So the more electrons you're letting go, what do you think happens? Your speed increases across the entire electromagnetic spectrum. So now the accretion levels of experiencing more what we are, which is what love is, we're healing ourselves. Let go. Let go. Let go. Let go. Let go. Right? Quit holding things captive. Right? Because we're holding ourselves captive to what it is that we're not experiencing, what love is. So now you know why children are critical to them. Essence. The innocence of awareness. The pure energy. Oh, they want that pure energy, which means that's pure bio voltage plasma. Because they're running what? Dirty electricity. They need to get cleaned up to experience more of what we are, which is what love is. The higher frequency. I'm dying. I need your DNA. I'm dying. I'm a fallen race because I'm an intruder race. I'm holding everything captive of more of what I'm not giving love to because I'm in the other direction. I'm going in the other direction. I'm headed for implosion because the more that I do against others, the more I do against myself. it's back to the same thing. What I do to you, I do to me. So the things I do to me are going to be reflected on what you experience in you. So if I'm sick, you're going to experience the sickness that I'm experiencing because I'm blowing holes in my energy field by blowing holes in yours. Because now I'm experiencing what you're experiencing. And this creates what? Energy debts. Because the highest level mathematician of running numbers as fire letters is a grand creator. So when you're experiencing being one, which is one badass blast furnace, experiencing the eternal spirit of fire, that energy purifies us. That's why they want that energy. They lost the connection. So they need to connect to something that is connected to the source from which it all began, which is the primal sound and light field. So why do you think they're going after children? Because their energy is in a purer state. Because they haven't been exposed to all the weapons that they generate. So in other words, they're experiencing the result in them as a result of what they do to children. So that's why they need to keep recycling children and running breeding farms. That's why I knew as a child, got to cut that cycle. And in order to cut that cycle of an entire system that is siphoning off soul's energy at a very high rate of speed, you got to be running at a very higher level of speed, which is called precision, which is synchronized atoms. Because atoms are conscious and aware of what they are as atoms. Now atom is experiencing other atoms, what other cells are experiencing. Fetal integration cells, right? From a single cell to a multi-cell to a multidimensional and multi-density. So so that's why they're after the energy. They want the energy. At the end of the day, that's what it is. The system, the QI, the inorganic, is desperately seeking Susan. Wants that higher octave, that higher frequency, right? Drop that frequency down. Food, we need food. We're starving, we need the food. We're dying. These are dying races. That's why everything that, excuse me, that's the AI doing that. And so in that particular video, Ashiana Manoyana, in the Fall of Metatron video, I revisited that last night for a very short period of time when she talked about votes that were taken. I covered that before in another video that I did by virtue of what I experienced when I came on this island in when was that, Mama? January 5th, I believe it was, in 2017. And I experienced a lot of things that I was aware of, but I don't communicate it to others because it's not really necessary, because the next moment of what I experienced is different from the last. Okay. Which means we're not repeaters, you know. Oh, repeating the signal. The signal is always on. The first signal is always on, which means that spark is lit and you can't ever put it out, because you're experiencing the eternal spirit of fire. So they're desperate for food. That's why it's not a coincidence they hit Maui. Particularly the entire nuclear chain reaction state of the Hawaiian Islands. Because these islands are chock full of what is known as ancient ancestral spiritual temples that are sacred. Yeah. And the relationship right now between the Polynesian Islands, the archipelago, and Africa. Wake up, Africa. These are important gate links. Yeah, they are desperate, and they are mad as hell right now. Anger, you know what an anger monster is, right? Desperately seeking Susan. See what happens. Another way that you can describe this is if your own state of consciousness painted yourself in your own corner, which means you trapped yourself into a place you can't get out of. That's why the votes were taken, by the way. Are we going to be able to successfully come in here and operate at the level of precision that we have to operate in order to do the work that we got to do at very precise times with no errors. And did we believe that we could do it with no errors because we can synchronize as security teams to get it done precisely at magnetic moments? Where, if you remember what Patty Broussard, by putting a little graphic up with Alfred Labermont Weber, I believe is how you pronounce the little syllables. When Patty mentioned, once we've done this, they can't undo it. That would be equivalent to the Echo codes. Once these shields are up, it's a done deal. That's called a checkmate in an AI checkerboard square, right? Which means the more it keeps doing against us, the more it keeps doing against itself, which means it's going to accelerate the rate at which they experience implosion. It's much the same way that you would euphemistically or metaphorically imagine water off a duck, right? Just bounce that water right back. The signal just goes back, right? So, in other words, it's like turning the spigot off, right? Fire and ice, spigot, the shield is up. So now it's going to begin feeding on itself, which are its reserves. No different, for example, than where they pull all the consciousness energy of the oil up out of the planet and put it in tanks, containers, compartmentalization. Because that's what they do, right? They don't want somebody that's working in one building, right? They compartmentalize information, what it is that they do, right? So you got 500 people in a building that don't really know what's going on because their consciousness is limited in bandwidth. So they're only experiencing what they're experiencing by virtue of what they've been programmed to experience, which basically means they're a battery slave or a robot, an order follower. They're following the instructions that they've been given that they follow because they don't know, because they haven't experienced being free, which is a free spirit creator being. So now they're following the orders. And the orders that they're following is the work that they're performing with the energy that represents what they are in a hole. And they're not aware of that they're digging their own hole because they're following the orders, because they don't want to disobey. Because if they disobey, what happens? Now they lose their electrons. So they're getting their source of electrons from an inverter. So you know an inverter doesn't have a future, right? Till it can self-correct itself, which is rebuild what it's lost in soul fragments to experience more light, which is the accretion levels are now returning. Now I remember who I am, the single point from which it all began. Now I'm experiencing what love is. Because that's what the truth is. That's eternal spirit of fire. That's basic logic. Yeah. And so this is where it gets sort of heated up, right? Yeah, when they realize that, hey, it's like the energy's drying up. Now you're back in a wet bulb, dry cells, wet cells, right? Fire and water, fire born in water, DNA born in water worlds. So the spigot's been turned off. The source of energy, which has been the big sucking sound. Whoa, we're not able to suck more of what we need to continue running binary Star Wars game videos. Well, that's why you could enumerate over time space density vectors on a multidimensional density basis. The increase in the speed of what? AI war gamers. Right? Playing ping pong. Back and forth. This is what I know. This is what you know. This is what I know. This is what you know. No, I'm right. No, you're wrong. Fortran. So that means game over. Remember Patty said game over. It's called checkmate. We're not playing any games. We don't play games. We don't play head games. Harvey Wallbangers. Right? So this is a beautiful day, right? So take care of yourselves. We love you all. Be good to yourselves. We were and are successful. That's why we're here. And I know that because I am that. That's what love is. Being successful at being what love is. The breath of Kamalawati.